Good afternoon. It's good to be with you. And today, where we're at, obviously, is the Boerne Police Department. I want to introduce everybody that hasn't met already. Chief Kohler. The Chief is here today to take us on a little bit of tour. But before we start that tour today, and that information background, I want to give you a little information. If we go back into the 60s and the 70s, our police department was in the City Hall. Back around the 90s, when we started thinking about moving the library over to the Dinger building, when that all got done, we needed some more space for the police department. So we went to that building that you see today that is right next to our current City Hall. And then from there was the quality of life bond election back in '07, and that produced this $8 million facility here that houses not only our police department, but also our municipal court, and it also includes the chamber for city council. I want you to know also, as we're taking this tour, that on an annual basis, or at least in our current fiscal year, $5.2 million of our budget is our budget for our police department, and then there is an additional $1.2 million for our dispatch, and we'll talk about that dispatch when we get there. A couple of different things that the Chief wants to show us today. One, here's the lobby. This will be the first thing you'd see when you come here to the police department. But then we're going to go over to our training room that gets used a lot. From our training room, we're going to go by dispatch. We're going to go out to a police vehicle, and we'll get all the insight as to what goes in that little package on 4 wheels. And then we'll stop by the patrol room for where all of our officers are, in and out on a daily basis as they come off duty, go on duty, whatever the case may be. So, Chief, let's go take a look at what that facility is over here, our training room. Please go right ahead and lead the way. This does a number of different things besides training, but along with our EOC. Chief, so tell everybody about this.
Well, the Emergency Operations Center here is set up when we have a major event. We have Public Works, we have Parks, Finance, Fire, Police, and everything else in here. We have computers that will be set up in here. We'll have the elected officials that are in here. Fortunately, it's quiet now. We fortunately dodged a bullet. But this facility will seat about 40 people for training. We conduct training classes in here.
But I think it's a great segue to come back in and also start off by saying that one of the things that we introduced a couple of weeks ago when we did our tour of the fire station, one of the primary goals of any municipality ought to be safety. We started with fire. We're over here in the police department today. Bring anybody up to speed that's just jumping in, but it is primary. And Chief, I had the luxury of being able to swear you in.
Yes,
how long had you been on the police force before that day when we did that?
21 years. 21 years, and so I've been here for 27 years. The last 6 as a police chief.
Yeah, great. I remember that day.
It was by fast.
It was a great day for me to have the honor to be able to do that. So, all right. From our training facility, though, there are other departments, other cities, other agencies that use this facility here. I don't think we touched on that. I think we're just about there.
When we have an in-service training class, essentially what we do is if we open it up to outside agencies. So you may have people from, down on the other side of San Antonio, from the Panhandle. If that's a class that they need, they'll come here. And so it's a really good networking tool for us.
You bet. You
Very
bet.
good networking.
Well, let's go down the hall to the hub where it all begins on dispatch.
Yes, sir.
We'll open up that door, and if you'll share with everyone a little bit about the number of different agencies that use our dispatch, that we are dispatched for, and where they will get their information.
Here's the dispatch center, kind of the hub of where everything happens. Essentially, we dispatch for all emergency services, law enforcement, fire, EMS, Parks and Wildlife, DPS, essentially all emergency services. If you see that on the wall, that's our automatic vehicle locator, shows where all the units are at a given time, which is monitored by dispatch, and those are city camera system there. And 911 calls come in here. We had about a 20% increase in the call volume coming in here last year, so it was significant. It was
Yeah.
significant.
20%?
Yes, sir.
20%. Wow. All right. Well, that keeps everybody busy.
Yes, sir. it
Keeps
does.
not only those folks in there busy, but it keeps the patrol cars out there. But we're talking about not only Boerne Police Department, you mentioned the emergency services, our fire and EMS,
Correct.
but we also are dispatch for county sheriff
Yes, sir.
and for the city of Fair Oaks.
Correct.
So all of those calls, although there was a good number of that percentage increase was for the city of Boerne.
Yes, sir. We increased on our activity about 40% this past year, which I venture to say that's probably going to level out. But we did see a very large increase in the call volume.
And that increase of call volume, was that across the board, Chief?
Across the board, pretty much, we had a little bit of a rise in narcotics and thefts, but pretty much across the board that we had. This is one of our police cars. It's 2017 Ford Explorer that we're going to let the mayor sit in but not drive.
Don't let me push any buttons now, because we can have all kinds of problems
Yes, sir.
when that happens. And we've got a fleet, Chief, that includes like this is Explorer, but also a number of different vehicles here.
Correct.
So tell us what those are.
We're using Tahoes right now and the Ford Explorers. The last couple of years we've purchased the Ford Explorers. They just seem to be run better. We've actually taken to the San Antonio Police Department track and go through the training with that. If you look on the middle there, Mayor, that's where our iPads go, where the officers get their calls dispatched to, and they actually can write their reports in the car and do that wirelessly. The same thing with our video camera system. And we actually, when the officer pulls up, the video actually is automatically downloaded to the server.
Oh, wow. Okay. But what other pieces of equipment in here? Because I think vehicles are now, like this Explorer is probably somewhere around 26 to 28,000.
Correct.
And then be able to outfit that. What totally do you have invested in this vehicle?
We probably have about $50,000.
We're back with you. I think possibly where we got cut off a little bit, Chief, was we were talking about cost of a car. We're buying those Ford Explorers somewhere around $26,000, $28,000, depending on the market at the time that we're going out there. To now equip that car, what kind of total cost have we got in that vehicle?
You're probably talking about another $20,000. You're probably roughly about $50,000 after they install everything in that unit. We're running those units a little bit longer than we would a sedan. We're running those out to about $125,000, which is the industry standards is what they recommend replacing them at.
In our sedans, we're running at about 100,000.
We try to run those at 100,000 miles, and we actually rotate some of those into the school resource officers that we have and allow them to drive those to and from the school.
Right. Talk a little bit about the school resource.
We've been in partnership for over 20 years with the school district. We started out with one. We got a couple of them on grants through the federal government, and right now we're sitting at 4 school resource officers, one at each high school and one at each of the middle schools located in the city limits of Boerne. We've had a wonderful, great relationship with the school, and we look forward to continuing that relationship.
All right. Chief, one of the questions that I get asked very often is, how are you keeping up with the growth? And they want to know about the utilities and the streets and all those other things. But another common question, and I know that you get it as well, if safety is first, if that's what we're really focused on, what kind of planning behind the curtain that nobody sees? How are you keeping up with the growth, Chief?
What we do is we actually plan out 5 years, and we look at the amount of calls coming in. We look at the types of calls that are coming in. We consider some other things, variable factors that are in there. If we can stick with that 5-year plan, I think we're going to be adequately staffed as we move forward. We've maintained that 5-year plan for the last few years and have staffed accordingly. So I think that we're mindful of the community and what it takes to run a police department. We've added a few different departments within the police department. But I think overall, I think if we stay with that 5-year plan, we're going to be adequately staffed.
Yeah, I think it's that whole 5-year CIP plan, as we call it, capital improvement program. One thing I know that council has always been very sensitive to that plan, to the costs that we need, but primarily to the safety of our citizens.
Correct.
So we thank you for the role that you play in all of that. There also is, Chief, touch a little bit on the Citizens Police Academy.
We have a Citizens Police Academy, and we partner with the City of Fair Oaks Ranch and the Kendall County Sheriff's Department. So we bring everybody in, rather than each entity doing their own individual class. And we basically go through patrol activities, dealing with officer-involved shootings, stuff like that, different crime scenes, and get them involved in that. We actually allow them to go out and shoot at a range and everything else. They just learn a little bit more about policing, and I highly recommend going to that. I think it's very informative, and a lot of people come out of there with a different perspective on law enforcement. They really do. We also do some DWI training in there as well with the people, and so that gives them a sense of how serious one of those offenses could be.
And do you have a lot of people volunteering for that they want to be the victim in that case?
Well, you actually have to monitor that very closely, very closely.
Well, I have been through that course, and it's a great opportunity. Now, that's a joint effort again.
Correct.
With the Sheriff's Department along with the City of Fair Oaks.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, I know another one that you and I have enjoyed, or at least I have enjoyed, I know, is that night in October that we have a National Night Out.
Correct.
And you've been very kind to chauffeur me around to all those different locations.
Yes, sir.
So tell folks a little bit about that evening.
What that is kind of getting people to come out and meet their neighbors and understand that, one small thing can lead to other things. So we try to get the people involved and tell them, look, if there's anything that you think may be suspicious, give us a call. And typically, we live in a great community, and a lot of people do abide by that. And I think it's a get to know your neighbors, and we probably have 20 or so locations that we meet that night. We don't make it to all 20 of them, but
We get to a bunch of them. We
Yes, sir.
do.
Yes, sir, we do.
Well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to reiterate our primary focus, and that is to keep people safe. You and your department have gotten a very nice recognition here in the last few years. So tell me a little bit about that recertification that you've gone through and that recognition, Chief.
The Texas Police Chiefs started a program years ago, and our first recognition was in 2012. And that's based on 164 policies and practices that are highly recommended, and it's reviewed by attorneys and other police chiefs and administrators. And basically what we do is we take that and then implement our policies around those policies. So we have 164 that have been vetted, and then we go through a re-recognition program every 3 years, and we just got recognized this past year for re-recognition. And I'm now an assessor for that, so I can tell you that it's a difficult task, but it's something to be very, very proud of.
Well, speaking of pride, we're very proud of the Boerne Police Department. Chief, thanks for joining us today and being a part of this, and I hope all of you out there have gotten a little bit better sense as to what is involved in keeping you safe, what services are here that are taking care of you 24/7, 365 days. We had to apologize, we had a couple of interruptions today, but hopefully you'll get the whole thing on Facebook. If there's any questions, comments, whatever have you, please give us some feedback, let us know, and we'll make out an announcement here in a couple of weeks. That's the next time when we join you. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.